Hello, good evening, everybody, and welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Chidebere, and tonight on today's section or tonight's section, we'll be looking at Flutter screen navigation. It simply means how to move from one screen to another in Flutter and how to navigate to and fro from one screen to another. A typical example is where you have a login screen. After the login, you go to dashboard. After dashboard, settings, and back to dashboard. And maybe you click on logout and the rest of them. So for today, I'm going to use simple widgets, which includes text and button, as well as other containers such as center, column, and scaffold for today's demonstration. So the button will be for navigating through the screen. Whenever it is clicked, it goes to the next screen and back. And the text will be to display uh, parameters or text that are passed from one screen to another. If I have something like my username and I want my username to appear in dashboard at the top right hand corner, I can pass it to the next screen and the next screen will be able to display it for me just the way I want it. So I've gone ahead and created this application. You know how to create application. You do your normal control shift and then P. It will ask for control shift P. Sorry, control shift P. It will bring up this. You click on new project. It takes you to application. You click on application. It takes you to the place where you want to save it. And then you select where you want to save it. And then it will ask you for the name of the application, but I don't want to do that because I already have this running and I don't want to take much of our time. So once you've created the main page, which is this, make sure you clean it up by deleting all the green lines, which are the boilerplate, and also removing everything within this place. So for this tutorial, I've already run this and I can refresh it from here just to make it faster. So I have an empty scaffold, and the first thing I will be adding today is the for scaffold we don't use child widget, we use a property called body, and then we specify. So on the body, I specify a center widget. What this center widget does is to position any object inside of it at the center of the screen. So for this, I want to add something called elevated button. So this elevated button is going to have two properties, which are the child, which will be a text or which can be an icon, and but let me use text, and I will name the text login. And for now, you can see it's still having an error here. So that's because I've not added a function to it. So I add onPress function to it, and then for now I leave it like this because we've not added our second screen yet. So if I refresh this by clicking R, you can see my second button here. So what I want to do is once I click on this button, it will take me to the next screen, and on the next screen, once I click on another button, which I will call logout, it will return me to this particular screen. So go ahead, select the library folder and right click and click on new file. So on this new file, I'm going to call it second underscore screen dot dat. So here's our second screen. The first thing we import is the material widget, which is this. And then we want to make it a stateful widget. We have a stateless widget and a stateful widget, but that's a tutorial for another day. But for now, let's just make use of stateful widget. So I just type STF, which stands for stateful widget. It automatically gives me this. I can click on this and it will expand this, or I can press on tab and it will create something like this for me. So I want to call this class, I want to call it second screen. First and second letter uppercase. So on this now, just like we have here before now, this and this is what we have as well here. But unlike this, it has container. So we want to use scaffold instead of container. So I change this to scaffold. Sorry, double FLD, scaffold. So on the scaffold, I now add my body, which will be a column because I want to add two items. Remember, I told you column can be used to add multiple items. So for this column now, instead of having child, I'm having um, children. So on this column here, I'm just arranging it. I want to add a test widget, and a button. So I add, okay, let's leave it empty like this and try to navigate to the next screen just to see what the next screen will look like, and then come back. So for me to navigate right now, if I click on this, I'm clicking on this button, it's not doing anything because there's no code for me to navigate to this second screen. So for me to navigate to this second screen, what I will do is to first of all import this second screen to this place. So what I will do is import, and I will say packages, then the name of my application, which is Flutter navigation, Flutter underscore navigation. So you see the three options it gave me. It's going to list all the files in your folder and give you the option to choose. So I choose this. But if I type this automatically and I didn't specify it, Flutter might add it for me automatically, which is not so all the time. In most cases though. So for this now, I delete this. I want to make it a single line and not double. So let's make it double. I just put this query bracelet, and I have navigator dot push. Now I want to use a material page route, and then I put context, and then I now specify the second screen. See it here, screen. So over here, what do I have? I have this, and I have to put my semicolon here because this is a code. This is a function, a code, not like a design where we use comma. So for codes, we use semicolon. For designs or widgets, we use comma to separate it. So I've done this now. It's going to take us to this second page here. But this second page doesn't have anything yet because this column doesn't show anything. It's only the widget inside, like test and button, that shows up something. And this scaffold represents this white environment. So this is it now. I'm going to refresh this guy, and it's refreshed. Once I click this, it goes to the next page. So you are not going, there's nothing here now. And for me to go back, I will click Shift R for it to restart and load the previous page that it has. So it's restarting. Okay, it has restarted now. So once it restarts, it loads main.dat file, and whatever is specified here, I'm telling it to run home.page, which is this here. So for me to be able to see what I'm designing while designing it, I go over to the second page by clicking on this. Now I'm going to add a test widget, and I call it welcome at username, and I put a comma here, and I refresh by clicking on R here, and I will see my test here. So my test is here. So I want to center it here. So what do? I add a property called main axis alignment, main axis alignment dots. I want to specify where I want it to align. I want it to be at the center. So it's at the center here. But still, it's at the beginning, left. So I will use what we call cross-axis alignment. So main axis alignment is how it aligns it at this top side, like this, where it aligns it, and cross axis is how it aligns it here. So by specifying cross axis alignment, I do cross axis alignment dot what, I specify center as well, and then I refresh. Come on, what are you waiting for? Okay, it didn't work out the way I wanted, so let me remove this and wrap the column in a center, so that this guy, the center, we align it at the center for me automatically. So I push Control full stop. You select the widget which you want to wrap, Control full stop. It will give you this option. So this is center, wrap with center. So it wraps it with center. You see, it's wrapped with center here. So column is now inside of the center. So you have this, you reload. Now I have it at the center where I want it. So I want to add my button. I can now add elevated button, which is this second one, and the onPress function and the child as well. So I have the onPress function here. Let me first of all add the child. I'm adding a test, and the test for the child we say logout. That's the test that will appear on the elevated button. And for this function, I want to go back to where I am coming from by doing navigator.pop. So, sorry, navigator.pop. It will pop this screen and go back. So, I've done this. Let me refresh so you can see my button here. So you can see my button here now. It says logout. So I add a size box so that there will be space between this and this. Size box. And the property of the size box, I can specify height or width. So I'm looking for height here. So I'm specifying height of 10. And then I put my comma. And then I refresh. Okay, you can see it has this. Now, because I've added this code here, I can now return back to my previous screen. This is the login screen. Okay, let me still add a test to this place for you to know that this is a login screen. Let me wrap this elevated button inside a column so that I can be able to add two things to the column, or two items to the column. I select column. You see, it goes in and it automatically add the child for you. I can now add test, and the test is login page. So here now, if I refresh this guy, I can know that this is my login page and this is the other page for me. Oh, it's climbed all the way up. So just the same thing I did main axis alignment, main axis alignment dot center. So if I refresh again now, it comes down to this place. So I know this is I can add space in between by saying size box height and then putting 10. I can specify 11, 20, 25. It just depends on the size you want to put. So if I refresh this, there will be space in between this and this. So right now, this is this code I'm using. I can now do this. It goes to the second screen, and I can now do this. It goes to the first screen. So now I want my name to appear here instead of here. Let's say I have a test field, and the test in the test field is bearing my name, and I want to assign it, push it to this second screen. What do? In this place, sorry, in this place here, inside, in between this circle here, or sorry, brackets, I will add something called a parameter. I'll pass a parameter called username, and that username now will bear a string, which is my name, Chidiebere. So now it's having an error because we've not defined a variable that will store it in our second screen. So go over to the next screen, and then on this particular class declaration, not the second one, no, this first one, you will add final string username, and it must match what you use for the first one. So now this guy is looking for this construct username inside of this place. This is where it will come in before storing it here. So what will I do? I will simply add comma required. This is because we are using null checker here, just to tell it this dot what user name is it here. So now I can easily transfer whatever I type or whatever I pass in here to this second screen here. So what do? I'll simply refresh this screen. Oh, it's showing me an error somewhere. It's showing me an error. I think I have an error somewhere. Oh, sorry, I omitted one query bracelet here. So it's fixed now. And then I refresh. So what happens is that this is passed through the first screen. So I'll go back to the first screen, and now I can refresh this again just to make sure it's passed. And then this is my second screen here. Oh, sorry. Now I will replace this first name with the variable username, which is up. So I replace this with $sign. Whenever you add a $sign in a string, it actually means you want to add a variable. So I now say widget dot username. This is for me to be able to extract the widget that was passed by the previous parameter, and you must close this after this query bracelet. If it's one word, then there will be no need for me to put this query bracelet. But if it's more than one word that you want to use here, you must add this for it to be able to tell it, okay, everything in this bracket is a variable. So with this now, I can easily refresh and then click on login. Now you see my name here. Wait, let me make it bigger by styling it. Let me add a little bit of style to it. Text style, font size, and I add font size 30 to it. So I refresh now just to make this bigger for you to be able to see it. So you see, so I can copy this style and add to the other side of the code, which is on the main. Where's my tests? Okay, this is my test. I add it here. So I now refresh. So this is how to pass from one screen to another, move from one screen to another, as well as passing values from one screen to another. I come back to login and I go back to this. And if I change this username to something like John Doe, then I'll have this. Now I need to go back to so that it will pass this name when I'm navigating to the next page, John Doe. So that's how to do this. I'll share this video with everybody, as well as the source code that I used for this whole project. The source code is for you to cross-check what you are doing. If there is any error somewhere, you can easily fix it without any problem. So that's the end of this tutorial. Thank you for your time.